Okay, thought I would make a video of this basket case engine and put it on YouTube, and for a particular gentleman that might be interested in buying it. So here we go. Here's my original, my 78 MX250 that we're fixing to start a light restoration on. And below on my left, I've kind of laid out the parts of the 78 MX250 basket case motor we got, which actually belonged to this bike I got over here in the corner, which you can see we transplanted the MX, or a Yamaha YZ250 motor in. So anyways, no longer really have a need for it. Don't know that I would ever put the motor back together, so I thought I would put it up for sale. Anyways, so starting right here, here's the side case that covers the clutch basket assembly, and you can see that the kick paw's intact, everything's in it, and there's kind of a good shot of it. Let's go around and get both sides. You can see the kick paw shaft sticking out, all cap. The only thing, one of the things that I did use off this motor, now that memory serves me, is the cover right here that covers the clutch assembly. So that would have to be purchased, which either that or one made out of a piece of aluminum, billet aluminum or something. Anyways, I put it on the YZ motor, kind of trick a few people out. So I don't have that. Sorry about that. Here's the magneto cover for the opposite side of the motor, which is what you see right here. It's in good shape, no cracks, no pieces missing. Okay, and here is the one side of the cases, lower cases, that actually holds the gear assembly, the shift assembly, the shift mechanism. They didn't, thank goodness they didn't take it out. It does look like somebody at one time, I see it looks like where somebody welded the shaft back together, possibly. Like maybe it broke or something. I just noticed that. Looks like a weld there. Shift mechanism's all intact with the shift spring. Get around here and get a little more light on it. There we go. There's the shifting fork and the little dog mechanism that turns the gear cluster assembly and moves your shift dogs in and out. So all that's intact. Thank goodness. Guy ain't got to go through that. Overall condition of the case, I don't notice any cracks or anything. Oil plugs in it. Looks like everything's in good shape. Okay, so there he is. Jump right over here out of the way. Here's the other side of the case. Like I said, the guy disassembled it because said it had a bad crank or a bad rod bearing. We'll get to that in just a second. Everything looks to be in pretty decent shape. We'll need a new oil seal right there. Again, don't notice any cracks. And this is, the serial numbers on this was, I'll read them off, 597, which corresponds to the frame that I looked at earlier. I said don't notice any abnormal cracks or anything. Actually, I think the motor will be put back together pretty easy now that I took a little closer look at it. Okay, getting to the cylinder and the head, one thing I did notice when I first got it was that there is 2 spark plug holes. Okay, the original MX motor that I've got in this original MX bike does not have 2 spark plug holes, so somebody has changed this head out. Let's change this head out. And the other thing I noticed, when you set that dude on the cylinder, looks like part of the fins are gone. Let's get it up here next to this other one. So everything looks correct between the two heads. But part of the fins are gone on that head. So I don't know that it would make that big of a deal on cooling for a flat track bike, but if a guy was going to try to do a NOS, it would definitely be a deal breaker. Anyways, like I said, wrong head. There's two spark plug holes, which is probably what somebody said is probably set up for flat track. Bottom side's in good shape, no pitting, or doesn't look like anything got loose and banged the head or anything, so it's in good shape. So it's still good usable, functionable head. Here's the cylinder. Cylinder's in good shape. Doesn't look like any fins are broke on it. It's got the pipe mount right there and there and there for the head pipe. Like I said, no broken fins. Intake boots there. Bottom side where the skirt comes out. Everything's intact there. Looking over the piston, or looking over the cylinder, I don't notice really any. There's a little bit of visible scoring. Maybe. Light wear right there, but running my fingers over everything, I don't notice anything that hangs a nail. So honestly, I think the guy could probably use this cylinder wall and put this motor back together. Let me see if I can get a little better shot of the cylinder. Inside of the cylinder. There we go. Like I said, I don't notice any visible scarring. And there's definitely nothing that's hang a fingernail on. So I actually think that cylinder can be reused. Here's the piston come out of the bike. It got a little bit, looks like it might have broke a ring. Part of the ring's gone. Anyways, the guy that I bought it from said that he thought a new piston crank and a few bearings and a gasket kit would put the motor back together. Here is these four little doohickeys that set right up in here like this on the cylinder. So those are with it. Kickstarter, good shape. Again, there's the head. I'll stick it back over here with the cylinder. And here is the crank assembly. I don't know anything about these cranks. I don't know if that's a two-piece crank and it separates and a guy can put a new rod on it, a new rod and rod bearing, or if you got to buy the complete assembly. Every one of them that I've seen on eBay was a complete assembly you had to buy, but I'm trying to see if I can show you how much slack it's got. There you go. You can see this crank bearing, the rod bearing is completely gone. So I don't know how much or whatever it's going to take if you could rebuild that crank or rod assembly, if you could press it apart. I don't know. Anyways, that's the crank. Now moving around to the other side of the lift. There's the Motoplat ignition. There's the flywheel. I got no idea what the heck this is. Not real familiar with Motoplat. There's the coil. There's the coil wire the guy had bought. And I move in, I got all these bags of nuts and bolts that the guy had labeled, and part of the labeling's there, still noticeable, part of it's not. Anyways, that says it's a retaining nut for clutch or something, I don't know. And then here's some, I've determined these to be part of the clutches. Holds the clutch plate into the clutch assembly, or the clutch, what am I trying to say, this thing right here, that bad boy. There's a plate, looks to me like it's probably an internal plate or back over behind the countershaft sprocket. There's the head bolts. There's a few more bolts. Bolt for generator. There's the front sprocket. There's a little doohickey that bolts on, holds the front sprocket on. Don't know what that's for. Here's a, and I'm just guessing on a lot of this, but I think this piece right here, this piece and this piece has probably got something to do with the generator. I would think that the generator, maybe, I don't know. This little piece right here is your, sets right down perfect in there, and bolts in. I would assume there's probably some springs at one time that went over there. I couldn't find any springs, but again, I'm not familiar with these motor. And this is the centerpiece that sets in there, and I think your clutch rod pushes on it. Not for sure. That's a complete assembly. Here's a couple of thrust washers that went over this piece right here, went over there, and it was in the bag. It was in the bag with the they were in the bag with the clutch assembly, and they went in right back here like so. Sit in there and go up in there. Anyway, so there, that's that. Here's the base gasket. Not for sure gasket. Not for sure gasket. Not for sure what they are. Anyway, I do know the one's a base gasket looks like. And then here's a few little bolts, nuts and bolts and pieces, and another thrust washer. I think this looked like the wrist pin. I didn't fit right on the piston pin. So that's about it. Like I said, I think the motor would go back together pretty easy, since they didn't take the transmission assembly apart. The only thing I see is putting a crank back in it. Let's get back around here to that side. Putting the crank back in it. Crank bearings are still intact. Yeah, I don't know how to check those guys. They yeah, that one there feels like it might have a little bit of, feels like it might need a little bit, so possibly crank bearings, crank assembly, or rod, I don't know. And then looks like piston and then the cover right here that I happen to use on my YZ Harley-Davidson creation. Anyways, if you're interested, man, give me a call. If not, then I do understand. And if you happen to find a motor and you need some parts one day, give me a shout. Anyways, thanks.